Breaking news, SCOTUS just ruled that Americans cannot have a country anymore. This is atrocious. What SCOTUS has been doing is un-American. And we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about Texas and their mandate to allow Bible readings in school. At least we have a W there. And World Cup controversies, racism controversies in Korea, diversity in the World Cup. All of that and more today on The Kangmin Lee Show. Hello and good morning. My name is Kangmin Lee. I am the host of the Kangmin Lee Show. I am your show host, where we talk about faith, restoring faith, identity, and civilization from east to west. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. I hope you all had a great weekend. And yes, if you haven't seen already, I have shaved my head, which is why I'm wearing this hat. Because I'll show you guys. If you haven't checked it out, I did live stream it. But it is only available to view for members only on YouTube. So if you're interested in seeing me shave my head and doing more fun IRL content, make sure to become a member on our YouTube channel. Now, here's what it looks like. People keep making fun of my hairline. I know it's just something I was born with. People say maybe you should get a hair transplant to line up that hairline. We may do so. We may do so in the near future. But for now, it's all good. We're going to settle for a hat and wearing a hat for the time being, for the next few months until my hair grows out to a decent, acceptable length. And if you know, I did shave my head because I made a bet to myself on the internet on X where I said, if South Korea loses to South Africa today, and this was Thursday, I'm going to shave my head. And then no one saw it, and then Korea lost, and then it went viral on X, and then 3 million people saw it on X, and people all over the internet were posting about it and saying, you gotta shave your head, you gotta shave your head. So I shaved my head. So shout out to everyone who super chatted and joined me during my stream where I shaved my head. It was fun. It was a great time. Let me know if you want to see me do more of that kind of content because we like to have fun and enjoy life around here as we talk about politics, culture, and the like. That being said, not a great morning. I did say good morning, but not a great morning, not great news. One of the worst SCOTUS rulings that happened in recent American history, really. And so we're going to talk about that today on Westwall. So huge breaking news, literally 10 minutes before we started the show. I was in the bathroom and waging war against the toilet. And literally 10:50, I got a notification that SCOTUS ruled against Trump's executive order and for birthright citizenship. And I was telling producer E from the toilet, we got to talk about this. We have to talk about this. This is arguably the most important SCOTUS ruling in modern American history. I think probably Dobbs v. Jackson was the second most important. That happened a few years ago, which was, praise God, the overturning of Roe v. Wade. But the issue of birthright citizenship is quintessential for not only the national identity of America, but whether or not America can have a future for itself and protect and preserve its national sovereignty. Unfortunately, SCOTUS has betrayed Americans, the 2024 mandate, and Trump himself. We see here, literally, 10:37 a.m., Supreme Court ruled that the 14th Amendment guarantees birthright citizenship to children born in the United States, including those whose parents are in the country unlawfully or only temporarily, striking down President Trump's executive order. Chief Justice Roberts delivered the opinion of the court, joined by Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, Barrett, and Jackson. Kavanaugh concurs in part in the judgment and dissents in part. Thomas Alito and Gorsuch dissent. Look at that. Look at all the women. All the women vote for birthright citizenship. And it's all the men, all the Chads like Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, just holding down the fort, saying, actually, Americans should be able to have a country, but of course, we're not allowed to. Americans are not allowed to have a a country anymore. Now, so SCOTUS strikes down President Trump's executive order limiting birthright citizenship in a 5-4 decision. And from the majority opinion, this is what they said. Children born in the United States to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment's Citizenship Clause. This is the worst jurisprudence we've seen, arguably, in decades. I mean, we've seen terrible jurisprudence from Supreme Court cases that struck down very traditional American ways of life, namely reading the Bible and praying in public schools in 1963, which we will talk about soon. And it's just so preposterous, right? Pornography and obscenity was all illegal in America for most of its history, but then recently they ruled it's actually free expression, freedom of speech. To film yourself getting railed by a bunch of dudes and then post it on the internet and monetize it and ruin an entire generation of young men and women. To completely rob them of their innocence and purity that should be reserved for their future spouse, because sex is sacred and it's intimate. It's a covenant between man and woman in marriage. So we see examples of tons of terrible, just tons of terrible examples of jurisprudence the past few decades and the past 60 years, but especially this has to take the cake. Oh, doesn't the 14th Amendment guarantee birthright citizenship? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It never had. This is what the 14th Amendment says. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. This was for, after the Civil War, to give citizenship to the Black Americans who were freed, who were previously enslaved, who've been in America for generations already. It was for them. It's for them and their posterity so that they can become part of the American fabric when they've already been slaves who've been living in America for generations. This is not so that everyone and anyone under the sun in every single part of the world can come into America, have a child, and then become an American citizen. This is preposterous. This was only for freed slaves after the Civil War. This was not for the entire world. It's absolute insanity. Did you know? We make fun of Europe a lot. Recently, they've been making fun of Europe for not having air conditioning. And by the way, I learned this recently, which is really, really bizarre and actually quite scary, that there are more Europeans who die from the heat waves and not having AC than Americans die from gun violence every year. Like, think about how preposterous that is. Think about how insane of a number that is. More than the rampant gun violence on American streets, Europeans are dying because of heat, because they don't have AC. How insane is that? But yeah, we make fun of Europe. We make fun of Europe and we call out the problems in Europe for their rampant Muslim migration problem and how their leaders are absolutely cucked to globalist agendas. But even European countries don't have unconditional birthright citizenship. No East Asian country has this. No first world country has unconditional birthright citizenship except for two, Canada and America. Because it's utter insanity. How are you gonna say and allow that millions of tourists, illegals, foreigners can just come into your land, come into your country, have a child, and then now that child is a citizen of the United States? In what world is that even acceptable, remotely acceptable, if you love your country and you want to preserve your country? No, if you agree with that absurd proposition, it is because you hate your country, you're an enemy, and you are a traitor to the country in which you reside. It is insanity that millions of foreigners, whether they be Chinese or Indians or Muslims or Africans, even Koreans, the fact that you can have any foreigner just come into America, have a child, and that child be automatically an American citizen is insanity. And that guarantees you do not have a country for the future. You do not have a country for your posterities. You cannot have a country that you can secure the blessings of liberty for your posterity, for your descendants. America's for Americans. And the fact that SCOTUS ruled against this, it just shows that we are living in an age where we cannot just play by the rules of principles. We can't. The other side is not playing by our rules, but conservatives keep trying to uphold this degree of decorum and constitutional norms, and I get that. But when the constitutional norms, quote unquote, has gotten us to a point where SCOTUS strikes down President Trump's executive order banning birthright citizenship for people who are in America temporarily or illegally, yeah, there's something very broken and fundamentally wrong with the system. The Constitution is not a divine document. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not the Word of God. And this is what constitutional conservatives need to get away from. It is not a divinely inspired work of text. It's not. That's blasphemy against the Lord. Is it a great text? Of course. It's one of the greatest political documents ever written. It's brilliant. But it's gotten to a point where the Constitution was only written for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate and incompatible for a people of any other. Do we have a moral and religious people in America? We have, yes, a very large Christian population, but we have an even larger part of the population, I would say, in America who are godless, who hate America, or who don't even care about the destruction and loss of American traditions, customs, and heritage. So the Constitution does not work for people who hate America. And when you have imported hundreds of millions, or not hundreds, but nearly 100 million and tens of millions of foreigners from incompatible cultures and countries, the Constitution doesn't work. And then if you try to say, oh, the Constitution and the constitutional rights are protected rights for every single person who steps into American soil, you're going to lose your country. You're not going to have a country anymore. And it is crazy that 9 people just ruled. Well, technically 5, but just 9 people, a body of 9 people who are unaccountable to the American public, to the American citizen, can just rule. Oh yeah, actually, too bad. America, you're not allowed to have a country anymore. Americans, sorry. You have to be invaded by millions of third world foreigners, and you have to be okay with it. Because why? Because we have an improper reading and a really, really, quite frankly, retarded, liberal, historical revisionist reading of the 14th Amendment. So too bad. Sorry. If a CCP spy comes to America, has a child, oh well. That's an anchor baby. That's an American citizen. You are protected under the Constitution. It's ridiculous. This was the most important ruling in modern American history to dictate whether or not America has a future for Americans. And SCOTUS just struck it down. Now, what's next? Well, what is the solution? Well, we can't play by the principles that are shackling us. These foreigners, our enemies, infiltrators in America are not playing by the rules. So if you play by the rules and you're playing a game that the other side is not playing and they're completely destroying you and getting everything that they want, well, maybe it's time to rethink our strategy and come up with new ways to win. Because we are living through an existential crisis, not only in America, but all throughout the first world, for preserving your national identity and having a home for your posterity. That is the priority. And even in the Declaration of Independence, it literally says, if the government does not work to advance the interests of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, then it is incumbent on the people to change the system. So it is not anti-American to not only play by the rules, not just completely just be, purists that, oh, if we do something that's unconstitutional, then we're bad people. Like, no, that's not how things work. The Constitution, it is not the Word of God. It is not a divinely inspired document. Our allegiance lies to Christ first and foremost, and to our country. And yes, we all know this. Our government and elected bureaucrats, but even unelected bureaucrats can do things that are against the interest of your own country. We all know this, but then why do conservatives hold on to abstractions of constitutional principles to lose? We can't. The enemies are they're using your principles against you. So what Trump has to do is what Biden did when Biden said, "Oh, Supreme Court ruled on this. Well, who cares? I'm going to do what I want." And we all knew that Biden wasn't controlling everything. Who knew? Who knows who was controlling things behind the scenes when Biden was in the White House? Maybe it was Obama. I don't even think it was Kamala. Kamala's too stupid. But yeah, we don't know. But the Biden administration just said F you to the Supreme Court for many of its rulings. So what Trump has to do now is say, okay, well, if you're going to go against the 2024 mandate of the American people, then we're just going to move forward because this is unacceptable that we allow birthright citizenship for people who are here temporarily and here illegally. You are creating an incentive structure that allows for a foreign invasion. Trump just has to say no. It is not a time today, right now, in this moment, present moment in America. We find ourselves not in a time where we can play by rules that will kill us and shackle us. You need to take back your country. And Trump always says this. I forgot. I know I'm butchering it, but I think he's quoting Napoleon. It's like, he does no wrong or he commits no crime if he does it to save his country. Something like that. I know I'm butchering it. But truly, we've gone to a point where the constitutional revisions and the slow liberal march through our institutions have completely rendered all of us powerless. And while we have power still in the White House, it's time to just completely cram through what you need to get done to save this country. And I'm not saying commit evil and justify evil by saying I'm doing this for my country, but objectively, if we allow for birthright citizenship unconditionally for every single person who steps onto American soil and has children in American soil, yeah, we're doomed. America's doomed. You can say goodbye to America. America is toast. Now, I love America. I want America to be for Americans. But truly, Trump, remember this. This is the quote. He who saves his country violates no law. I believe this wholeheartedly, that Trump, if we have a very, very limited window to restore sovereignty back to Americans in this country. And if the GOP congressmen and SCOTUS stand in the way of Trump effectuating that change, then something has to change. Trump needs to just do it himself. Because this is not tyranny. This is not totalitarianism. This is not fascism, or Trump is not being a dictator. 2024, the majority, he won the popular vote. Americans voted for mass deportations. We all voted so that we would get rid of birthright citizenship, that we would restore America to its former glory and strength and order. That's what we voted for. So the American people have spoken. But then we have GOP congressmen not passing the SAVE Act, doing nothing, and the SCOTUS striking down whatever they can, Trump's agendas and executive orders. Trump just needs to do it himself. Maybe he needs to be more like a Nayib Bukele or a Lee Kuan Yew to save this country and put it back on a place of sanity. Now, we also saw that SCOTUS ruled today in favor of banning men from women's sports, which is good. But the thing is like, that's the bare minimum. It is quite crazy that we even have to have this discussion that, should we allow men to just go into women's bathrooms and locker rooms and play with little girls? What? Of course not. Of course not. What are we doing? So, yes, of course, they should rule in favor of banning men from women's sports or women's spaces. Now, if you want to go a step further, I think that most women's sports are actually functionally transgender. And you might say, what? What are you saying? I think there are certain sports that are good and permissible for women, but I believe that contact sports, high contact sports, high impact sports are actually not good for women. And you can crucify me, you can kill me, I don't care. I want women to be womanly. And if we agree with the proposition and the truth, the reality that men and women are different, then women should not be playing hockey where they're hitting each other and crashing into each other. Should women be playing football and rugby? I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, that's not popular, but it's increasing in these changes. And these sports, which are high intensity, require high testosterone, actually, when women try to work their bodies so that they become high caliber, high performing athletes in these high contact, very intensive sports, what happens? Their testosterone levels go up, estrogen levels go down, and they deal with fertility issues. Not saying that women shouldn't exercise or play sports at all, but maybe consider, I don't know, volleyball. Volleyball is a great sport for women, I think. Consider gymnastics or ballet. There's nothing wrong with women working out and taking care of the body. That's all great because we're all called to do that. We all have to do that as people. But the kind of workouts that allow men to excel, you try to give that to women, and it actually harms their body. Because why? What does it tell us of women? What is the design that God has given women in terms of their physiology and their body? It is namely to conceive and birth new life. And if you are purporting and pushing for lifestyles and society, a society that damages that design for women, I would argue you're going against God's design. I think it's very clear. And so that's why many of these aggressive, high contact sports that if women play in it, it is actually functionally transgender. And you're trying to make them like men, masculine like men, when women should be feminine, like Scripture talks about, gentle, feminine, pleasant. And so what we're doing right now, I think it's good. It's actually good that we ban men from women's spaces, but we have to also not only push it a step further, but reframe the issue and say, okay, but then what is the end goal? What do we want for men and women in society and in our families? And yeah, we don't like aggressive, belligerent, loud, obnoxious women, which is why you look at the NBA, right? The WNBA, and it's just a bunch of lesbians completely going after people like Caitlin Clark and just like choking her and abusing her. Because that's the kind of environment that a lot of these high contact sports cultivate. And for men, it's fine because men, we are competitive. We are supposed to be capable of violence, strong. We're like warriors. And in time of peace, men need sports to be competitive and to stay sharp and to cultivate those masculine instincts and strengths. But women are not meant to be warriors and fighters and competitors. That's why men are competitors, but women are cooperative. And so that's why for all of human history, there have been men's spaces, male spaces, namely politics, war, sports, and there have been female spaces, namely community building, the home. And we need to understand that, not only as conservatives, but as Christians. We have to understand that God has made us different. There's different scriptural commands for men and women because God has designed men and women to be different in the home, in the church, and in society. So we have to get away from this framing that, oh yeah, we just want equality. No, I actually don't want equality because men and women are different. We're not equal. We're equal in value, but we're different. So let's not, we can't revert back to liberalism, right? As Christians and conservatives, we can't just revert back to the liberalism of the past 20 years. Like, we have to move forward thinking about what does Scripture say? What does the church teach? And also, how have humans in healthy civilizations and societies, how have they oriented and organized their societies in the home that allowed for human flourishing? That's what we need to do. And all that being said, I just went on a tangent there about men and women because I'm just so sick of the current discourse where there's the extreme where men are like, I'm an incel, I hate women. Screw women, they're all whores, and they're all OnlyFans models. I'm like, no, they're not. There's a lot of them, which is a problem, sure. Lots and lots of women today are attention whores and just actually whores who whore out their bodies. Yes, that's wrong. That's objectively an evil and something we need to call out, but there's actually a lot of great godly feminine women out there. Like, I know many of them in my own life. They're pleasant. They're lovely. They're great. And then there's the other extreme. It's like, oh, yeah, we just have to make everything the same and women are no different than men. It's like, okay, can we find a normal place when it comes to male-female relations where we honor the design that God has given men and women without denigrating the other side completely? And people say that I hate women, I always denigrate women. No, like I literally say that simps are worse than whores. So I always call out men, but that doesn't mean that I don't call out women. That being said, SCOTUS ruled on that. That's good. But they also ruled yesterday that election fraud should be allowed. So in 5-4 ruling, SCOTUS ruled that election fraud, yes, it can be allowed. Now, I'm not one of those people who are in the QAnon train and it's like, oh yeah, there's a secret conspiracy. Trump's gonna have an uprising and overturn the system. Just trust the plan. I'm not that person. But the reality is mass mail-in voting, it is so not secure that the only reason why you would ever advocate for it, in my opinion, and I think this is actually a reality, the only reason why you would advocate for it is because you want to cheat. Because it is an unaccountable system. It's completely unaccountable. So right here, in a 5-4 vote, the Supreme Court ruled that federal law does not require mail-in ballots to be received by Election Day, holding that states may count ballots postmarked by Election Day, but received afterward if state law allows it. It's so preposterous. We can't have this in a society. It's always been an illegitimate way to conduct an election. Why? There's no chain of custody for the ballot. You have no idea who handles these ballots. You can't trace it. You don't know who fills it out. And you don't know if there's any sort of duress, what kind of duress voters were under. We see clips. James O'Keefe just did a whole expose where he went to LA and there's homeless people being asked to vote for certain candidates and being paid to vote for candidates on these ballots that are freely given to them. There were case after case after case after case after case of mail-in ballots being mailed to people who are dead, to empty homes, homes receiving multiple ballots, more than people who are in the household. I mean, it is an objectively horrible system. And the least you can do as the Supreme Court to say, okay, if you're going to allow mail-in voting until Election Day, so you have to get it in and counted by Election Day. No, actually, that's unconstitutional. It's so unbelievable. And yes, we have exceptions for people who are overseas, servicemen overseas, people who are too sick and not able to go vote in person at a polling booth, at a voting poll. But then it should not be, everyone shouldn't be able to, you shouldn't have universal mail-in voting. That's insane. And if you are too lazy to go vote in person, maybe you shouldn't be voting in the first place. Oh, you're just trying to disenfranchise voters. Good. If you are not engaged in the political process and you don't care about your country enough to vote, then you shouldn't be voting. Genuinely, I'm not sorry about saying that. You shouldn't be voting. Voting is a privilege. It's a responsibility. It is not a right. No one ever thought this until the modern century. So now, you have places like California, which takes weeks, if not months, to count their votes. Meanwhile, you have Colombia, who hand-counted their votes on Election Day in 3 hours. Like, what are we doing here? Like, the American electoral process is worse than third world countries. How embarrassing is that? That is so embarrassing. And the only reason why people want to advocate for this is so that they can cheat. It's so easy. You can have a bunch of mail-in votes, these ballots, give it to people, pay people, and there's no accountability. There's no way to track it. So just ban it. Just ban it. Vote on Election Day. And if you are going to send in a mail-in ballot, get it by Election Day. But you see this with the Birthright Citizenship ruling, with the election ruling. SCOTUS right now is working actively against the interests of the American people and of Donald Trump. So like I said, Trump just needs to do it himself. Whatever that looks like, whatever it takes to secure our elections, to pass the SAVE Act. And if they're not going to pass the SAVE Act in Congress, then Trump has to do it himself. We are in a crisis right now. We are being invaded. America's being invaded by millions and hordes of third world invaders. Something has to change. America's unrecognizable. I go to the mall. I do not see a single American. All I see are Muslims and foreigners. I say this as an immigrant myself. I want to see Americans. I want to see people who've been in this country, whose ancestors bled and died for this country, who love this country. I want to see more of those people in public than I do foreigners who just got here a few years ago. But now they're able to stay because why? They had children. And now through their anchor baby, they're able to stay and have protected legal status. I mean, it's in a completely broken system. Something has to change. Trump, do whatever you have to, do whatever you can, because the future of America quite literally depends on this. That being said, we also had liberals freak out because last week, Texas, the Public Board of Education, they have ruled that Bible reading is now mandatory in public schools, which is great. This is great. Look here. This is Good Morning America. They're freaking out. Texas Education Board votes to make Bible passages required reading. The Texas State Board of Education has voted to make Bible passages required reading in public schools. Huge win. The Education Board, which is controlled by Republicans, oh, so scary, voted to pass a new required reading list on Friday by a vote of 9-5-1. The list for required literature includes sections of the book of Exodus for 5th graders, the Shepherd's Psalm for 7th graders, and more. Board discussions about the required reading list took place Friday morning and touched on issues related to the implementation timeline and the question of teacher autonomy in deciding which works should be required reading. Authors appearing on the approved required reading list included E.B. White, Shelf Silverstein, Aesop, Kurt Vonnegut, Elie Wiesel, and more. This list will impact more than 5 million students enrolled in public schools across the state. Julie Pricken, a Republican member of the Texas Education Board, told the Texas Tribune last week prior to the list's passage that the readings are intended to give students important insight into the moral and philosophical traditions that have shaped Western civilization. So true. Very good. When students engage directly with original writings, speeches, sermons, and foundational texts, they can evaluate ideas and develop a deeper understanding of the principles that have shaped America, the USA, and Texas, she told the outlet. Texas Education Board member Evelyn Brooks was outspoken during the hearing in opposition to the list, saying it removed teacher autonomy and arguing that it was unconstitutional. It's not unconstitutional. All right, so if we can move down a bit. Yeah, it's Garcia, one of the members says, it is a substantive reshaping of what kids are supposed to learn throughout the state of Texas over their 13 years of compulsory public education. Great. We need to. We are in a state of crisis in America right now. Oftentimes, where Texas goes, other states will follow, right? So this is a pretty substantial move that I can imagine other states picking up and moving forward with as a possibility. There is literary value in reading the Bible. I don't want to diminish that kind of obvious point. So true. So I could imagine this orienting young people towards particular kinds of dispositions that are rooted in Christianity as a result. Great. This is so good. And of course, you had liberals freaking out all over the internet saying this is unconstitutional. This is religious indoctrination. This violates the First Amendment clause. This is terrible. We're living in a crystal fascist regime. Let me refer you to this meme. This is a great meme. Not sure who made it. Oh, Narrow Road Comics. Great meme. Look, it's Moses holding the 10 Commandments. And you have this lesbian black woman looking person saying, government can't impose morality. And look, you just have stop hate crimes, right? Trans restrooms, gun-free zone, Black Lives Matter, intersectional pride flag, trans rights are human rights, bring back Roe, gay equality. Government does impose morality. It's not whether or not it does or not. It's not a question of whether the government imposes morality. The question is, what morality does it impose? Why? Because the law is a teacher. The law and the enforcement of the law shapes society, shapes public perception, shapes our lifestyles. The law is a teacher. We have laws in place because we deemed it morally necessary to impose that law for the good of society and for the good of the individual. It's not a matter of whether or not government imposes morality. Of course, there are certain things like freedom of conscience where you can't force a person to become Christian because faith is a personal choice and it also is the work of the Holy Spirit. But it's personal choice that you give your life and you surrender your life to Christ and you put your faith in the finished work of Jesus Christ on the cross. That is a personal decision. No one can force you or compel you to do so. But that doesn't mean that we can't have laws that protect what is good for the individual and society. So if the government, because nature abhors a vacuum. So if you don't have Christian morality, which is what governed this country for decades and centuries until the modern era, then you're going to have what? You have gay race communism be the prominent religion. It is a religion. Wokeism, gay race communism, whatever you'll call it, this insane liberal doxology that you see today. It is a non-theistic religion. It is a religion without a God, but it has sacraments, it has blasphemy laws, it has rituals. Black Lives Matter, you must chant it with me, Black Lives Matter. Abortion, right? Celebrating your abortion, shout your abortion. It is a demonic ritual, but that's what they do, and that's what's celebrated. This is the state of America, and we are, right now, the prominent religion of America is not Christianity. It is gay race communism. That is the religion. Liberalism itself is the religion of our institutions. That is what is the hegemonic force in American society and in the West. And so when you finally have patriots standing up and saying, actually, let's bring back Bible readings. It's good. We're not going to compel you to become Christian. We won't force you to become Christian, but we'll show you the text that has shaped Western civilization, that is the bedrock of Western civilization, everything we love and enjoy. Oh, Christo-fascism. Give me a break. This was normal in America for most of American history until the 60s. That's why 1960s is arguably the decade that completely destroyed America, with the Hart-Celler Act, with SCOTUS rulings that banned Bible readings and prayer in school. And that happened in 1963. So for 200 years, nearly 200 years of American history and American life, Bible readings, prayer, chapel was required in all public schools and all schools of all educational levels, even in colleges. Colleges were built by Christians for ministers, evangelists, pastors. That's what colleges were formed for. It was for Christians. Christians formed colleges. Christians built the schools. Every American student had to, on top of the Pledge of Allegiance, recite the Lord's Prayer at the beginning of every school day. Did you know that? And that was in line with the First Amendment. Why? Because the First Amendment says that, not that you can't have religion in public life and you can't have religion in the government. It says that Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate, Congress itself shall not make a state religion for the entire country. But America was a deeply Christian nation at its founding and for most of its history. So we're just going back to a place of sanity. The more that we remove Christianity from public life and the government, things have objectively gotten worse. And all the great strides we've made in American history were due to Christians and Christianity. You take away that foundation, the nation crumbles, and that's what we're seeing. And then, so we have Josh Hart here, who is a player on the Knicks, and we like the Knicks. They won their first NBA title in 53 years. And he says, in response to this, whoever has ears, let them hear. So ABC News is breaking. The Texas State Board of Education has voted to make Bible passages required reading in public schools. Josh Hart, it says, fire, fire, fire. Whoever has ears, let them hear. Good, good. And this is good. Like, Josh Hart is left-wing, but the fact that he himself acknowledges this is a great thing for Christians, this is a good thing for the kingdom of God, this is a good thing for America, that students read the Bible in schools, and then he's getting completely destroyed in the comments for it by left-wingers and by grievance grifters. Look at this guy. Josh, don't realize this is rooted in racism. What? What? How is this racism to allow people and to have students read the Bible? What? And that's their whole mentality. It's just whatever that they don't like is because it's in opposition to Christianity. The reason why they hate white people so much is because they hate civilization, first and foremost, and civilization is right-wing. But also they hate Christianity. Their father is the devil. Their father is not our Father in heaven. They hate they hate God, they hate his commandments, and they do the bidding of their father, who is the devil. That's why they have a rabid hatred for America, which is deeply Christian in its foundations. They hate Western civilization. They hate white people, broadly speaking, because Christendom was mostly rooted in Western and Eastern Europe. So this person said this: ball sack sports, all for spreading the gospel to those who choose to listen, but that freedom to choose needs to be protected. This vote is rooted more in indoctrination than the goodness of the heart. The constant infringement and violation of our Constitution needs to end. Here's a prime example of why I hate democracy. Most people don't even know anything about American history. They don't know anything about actual constitutional readings and the process. They don't know that Bible readings and prayer were not only allowed, but mandatory throughout all educational levels for 200 years of American history. They don't know that. So they think that we're not even requiring them to pray. Texas is not even requiring them to profess Christ as Lord. They're just saying, students, read the Bible. Here, read Exodus. Read how God had freed the Israelites and brought them out of captivity, and he provided for the Israelites. Here, let's read Psalm 23. And they're freaking out. See, Christians like this are spineless and feckless and do nothing for the kingdom of God. Because all they do is stand atop their ivory tower, act like they're so holier than thou because, I don't impose my morality on other people. You're a coward. You're an absolute coward. You're not a good person. You're not a righteous person. You're a coward. If you are counter-signaling the fact that students have to read the Bible in classrooms now, you're a coward. You don't actually believe that the Bible is the source and the wellspring of life for the individual, that it is truly the divinely inspired word of God. If you're counter-signaling and if you're sad about students reading the Bible, saying it's unconstitutional, when it's not, by the way. It never was until very recently, because SCOTUS is retarded, and they have been retarded for the past several decades, except for Clarence Thomas. We love Clarence Thomas. He is a true patriot. And I just do not understand. I do not understand these Christians, but these liberals. Seriously, it is such a travesty. It's a tragedy that they're reading, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want." They're reading stories about, treat your neighbor, love your neighbor as yourself. They have to read about Jesus healing the sick, making the lame man walk. I have to read stories about God delivering his people. So sad. We have to read stories about God's mercy and his love and his provision and his goodness and his beauty. So sad. But look, let's celebrate butt sex and chopping off your genitals. Let's trans children. Let's keep that a secret from their parents. Abortion. Yeah, let's teach that. If you want to have sex unprotected, just get an abortion for contraception. No problem. It's just a medical procedure. Did you know that black people were the original Chinese? This is the kind of nonsense that they're teaching in schools. You really want that? And you, as a Christian, you prefer that? You have books being read to kindergartners about oral sex? You want that over Christianity? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. What? And as a Christian, if you don't understand that the Bible is an objective good that is good for the individual, we can't force them to become Christian, but we should at least want to, in every level of society, lead them toward the eternal truth that is Christ himself. I don't think I have to question your allegiance. I have to question your genuine faith. Whether or not you genuinely believe in God and you believe in the gospel truth that it is truly what saves people. Why do you not want a nation that honors Christ? Why do you not want people and young children to read the Bible? You'd rather have them read porn in schools and learn about sexual degeneracy? You'd rather that than them read the Bible? What is the mindset there? So Christians need to be stopping so weak on this. There's nothing objectively wrong about this. There's nothing objectively sinful about this. So we got to move past this as Christians. We got to move forward as American patriots to reclaim the vibrant, rich Christian heritage of America. And yes, it is good that they're requiring the Bible reading, the reading of the Bible in public schools in Texas. Great. Because whoever controls education controls the future of your country. For far too long, liberals have controlled it. And last thing I'll say before we move on, people always cry about indoctrination. Well, indoctrination and education come from the same root word. The absolute peak retardation. And I'm not saying that people are retarded when they say this, but it is kind of retarded. And people, they're well-meaning, I get it. But I will not teach you what to think. I'll teach you how to think. You can't know how to think if you don't know what to think. You can't do advanced algebra and calculus if you don't know that 2 + 2 = 4. You can't know anything about American history unless you know that America was founded July 4th, 1776. You can't know science if you don't know, if you can't do any sort of chemical reactions or create anything scientifically of value. You can't create solar panels. You cannot create semiconductors if you don't know the basics that a water molecule is 2 hydrogen and one oxygen atom. You have to be taught what to think before you know how to think. And children will be taught what to think. They will be indoctrinated with a value system. It's not a matter of whether or not they will be. The question is, which value system? What will they be indoctrinated by? And I want them to be indoctrinated by the Word of God. And that's not inherently evil, because people need to know what to think before they know how to think. That's why you don't you don't literally just have a baby and just leave them alone and never teach them anything. No, you teach them, hey, A is A, B is B, C is S, or you teach them what to think so that later, as they develop their prefrontal cortex and they have consciousness and they learn how to think for themselves, they can think and figure out problems and solve complex issues. But the thing is, if you don't have that fundamental foundation that is rooted in the Word of God and in the eternal truth, your country will go to crap, which is what we're seeing today because people are losing their foundation. So the church needs to be strong. Christians need to be bold and unapologetic about this. With the 10 Commandments being in Louisiana classrooms, with the Bible being read in Texas classrooms, this is an objective win. And I remember my AP Lang or AP Lit teacher, I forgot. I forgot which one is which. But he was a Christian and he was a God-fearing man. He was so wise. He was great. I loved him. And even in that age where everything's so liberal, everything's about religious pluralism and secularism, he found ways to introduce scripture into the classroom. And it was so refreshing. It was life-giving. And that's what we're just doing. We're just showing that, hey, you don't have to be Christian per se. We're not going to force you because we can't force you, but look at the richness of the Word of God. His law is like honey. It is so sweet. We love His commandments and His statutes. Look at this text. This is the foundation of Western civilization. And that is how we reclaim our society. Whoever controls education controls the future. That is indisputably true. And so conservatives need to do more in the educational sector. Very good. Props to the Board of Education in Texas. We love to see it. And like the people were panicking saying, I hope other states follow as well. All right, that does it for our West Watch segment. We're going to move on to what's happening in Korea. Okay, so as you see, I shaved my head because Korea lost, and we already talked about how abysmal that loss was. It was just the players played lethargic, too safe, didn't take any risks, and management was horrendous. Now, the players and manager Hong Myung-bo, they have returned to Korea, And this is the reaction that they were met with. They came in early at 4 a.m. thinking that they would avoid the protesters and avoid backlash, but alas, it was all for naught. This is the reaction coming into Incheon Airport. Yeah, look at all of those people. They're pissed. That kalguksu place. Kalguksu is knife cut noodles right there. But yeah, people are pissed. I couldn't really hear what they were saying. They're saying probably like 홍명보 나가, right? 꺼져. So 꺼져 is basically like F off in Korean. So 홍명보 꺼져. They're just chanting that with drums and they're pissed. And it's not just protesters at the Incheon airport greeting him. Right here, all throughout Korea, Korean business owners are now putting up signs banning national team manager Hong Myung-bo from entering local businesses. Look at right here. Like these are convenience stores. It says Hong Myung-bo는 출입 금지. Like, Hong Myung-bo cannot enter. He's not allowed to enter. Hong Myung-bo만 출입 금지. Only Hong Myung-bo is not allowed at this gym. Right here too, Hong Myung-bo 출입 금지. This is at a restaurant, it looks like. Right here, 매장 출입 금지. This is a donut place, I think, right? donut 나오는 시간. People are pissed. And of course, this is not every single store. I'm sure it's only a select few stores throughout the country, but people are pissed. And so all of South Korea, they're angry. All the South Korean diaspora, they're angry. And so what happened as a result? Well, Hong Myung-bo announced that he is resigning. And he has resigned in disgrace. He is, I think, the only manager in recent history who has coached through 2 World Cups, and both have been failures. But objectively, this year, Korea had the best squad ever assembled in Korean national soccer team history. And they butchered it. They couldn't even get to the round of 32 against a team, South Africa, that didn't even qualify for the World Cup last World Cup. That's how much Hong Myung-bo and the management butchered the talent. Now, if you watch a lot of videos, there's a lot of people who are saying, when they're greeting the players again, they're like, 수고했어요, 잘했어요, 고생했어요. Because they understand it's not the players' fault. It's not the players' fault that the best Korean soccer player of all time, Son Heung-min, was benched for the first half of a do-or-die game. That's not his fault. It's the management's fault. It's the terrible coaching decision. So the fans are pissed, not at the players, but at the coaching staff, which is interesting because a lot of the times they have been pissed at the players, but I think rightfully so, Koreans see it is because of the coaching staff that Korea lost. Now, it's gone nuclear. It's not just the people are pissed about their soccer team losing. No, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung also opined on this issue. And he has ordered a government investigation into the national team's group stage exit from the 2026 World Cup, saying he was utterly baffled by the result and questioning whether competence has been prioritized in appointing head coach Hong Myung-bo. And Hong announced his resignation on Sunday. He was stepping down and taking all the responsibility for South Korea's elimination after the team finished with 1 win and 2 losses in Group A. And so, yeah, he had a really, really long tweet right here. So thank you for your hard work, Minister Choi, Hee-young, and all related public officials. And so he's just basically saying this is unacceptable. We need to have an actual investigation from the Ministry of Sports. And so we will have and launch an investigation, which is so crazy. So right here, I asked that the Ministry of Culture and Sports Tourism meticulously address the precise circumstances of this incident, analyze its causes, and develop thorough measures for preventing reoccurrence and improvement. I'm deeply sorry for causing such profound disappointment to the public over this absurd affair. We will swiftly push forward with reforms to sports administrations to ensure such a thing never happens again. And I think it is so ridiculous. Lee Jae-myung is one of the most performative Korean presidents in modern history, which is why he's good at PR and he's good at what he does in terms of being a good politician, because he deflects from responsibility. He refocuses people's priorities elsewhere, and he's good at that. But you see, the moment Korea loses, he writes a lengthy post about how unacceptable it was and how there needs to be a full-scale investigation. After Election Day, he waited 4 or 5 days to make a comment about the ballot shortages that were rampant throughout polling stations all across Korea. Do you see the game that is played by liberals? Conservatives, wake up, stop playing by your own rules that the liberals are not playing by. His priorities are all out of whack. It's like, what are you doing? And on top of that, as the president, I think it's fine to say, yes, this was disappointing and there needs to be an investigation. I don't even think that's terrible. But where is the acknowledgement of, as the president of your own country, saying, hey, the players worked really hard. Good job. Where's that? He didn't tweet that. That's the only thing he tweeted about the World Cup. And it's about, oh, I'm so deeply sorry for this disappointing loss, and we need to investigate into the coaching staff and the KFA because this is unacceptable. Yeah, but what about Lee Kang-in, who worked his butt off? You're not going to congratulate him? Like, publicly, you should be at least commending the players for their hard work. And you give them acknowledgement as the president of your own country that these players worked hard, and yes, they're screwed over by management, but hey, players, you worked hard. We're proud of you. Where is that? You're supposed to be on the side of your citizens, and you're not. You're just being a performative a-hole. That's what you are, Lee Jae-myung. And of course, the backlash, and this all happened, right? But then you just had all these third worlders and these black people online just opining about how this ties into why they lost because of their racism. Look at this person. The concept of there being no Asian teams left in the World Cup. Karma for Asians' anti-blackness. No shade. Fairs. What? Japan is out of the World Cup. Korea's out of the World Cup. Oh, it's because they hate black people. Oh, I'm so sick and tired of these people. I'm fatigued. And it's always the people who make East Asian culture and identity their entire persona. They obsess over Korean dramas, K-pop, anime. They obsess over East Asian culture, and they're always the first to throw them under the bus, to inflate their own ego so that they can deal with their own inferiority complexes and to justify their own insecurities, to deflect from their own insecurities. They make an entire country's culture their entire identity. And then they find ways to demonize it so they feel better. But they see greatness from Korea. They see greatness from Japan. They are justifiably drawn to the beauty and the music and the culture that comes from Japan and Korea these days. Because it's great. And they see that. And they obsess over it. But then they put it down so that they can elevate themselves and feel superior over peoples who have created versus themselves, their own squalor and their filth. It's all insecurity. They have seething inferiority complexes. Inferiority. That's hard to say. They have seething inferiority complexes. And they try to just put down Korea and Japan wherever they can, make everything about themselves. They're so narcissistic. Like right here, even too, this is Son Heung-min writing his heart out about what happened at the World Cup. And this person too, look, a BTS stan. This person's by a leader of Namjoon's harem, S Army, Boraho, Black. It's a South African K-pop stan, a BTS fan. They are mad because they lost to Africans. No, we're not mad. They're not mad. Koreans aren't mad because we lost to black people. We're mad because the management completely botched the most talented Korean national soccer team in history. It's not about you. Can you stop making it about you? Oh my gosh. And people keep telling me, why do you obsess over black people? Because of this. Like, I'm not obsessed with black people, but they keep making everything about themselves. They keep peddling lies and conspiracy theories about Koreans are colluding to put down black people for some reason and just hate black people for no reason. They obsess over it. They continuously try to inject their own racial grievance politics into Korean dramas and Korean entertainment. They keep like shoehorning their garbage LGBTQ and woke nonsense into our society, into everything that we love and enjoy. That's why. And then I'm called a hateful person. All of these performative Christians look at me. That's not very Christ-like of you to call out black people. Hello? Do you not see what they're doing? Oh, we just gotta love them. That's the solution. They will always call out me, calling out the garbage behavior than the garbage behavior itself. They have a bigger problem with me calling out garbage behavior and insane narcissistic ghetto behavior than they do about the insane narcissistic ghetto behavior itself. I'm so sick and tired of these like performative Christians who do this all the time. I see this in my comments all the time. Oh, that's not really reflective of Christ. What do you mean? I am just stating plainly what is reality. Oh, that's not really nice. And they have nothing to say about this garbage. When they keep lying and slandering Koreans, it just complete lying and calumny is a sin. They're not gonna call that out. Oh, but if I call out garbage behavior, be careful, you're borderline sinning. Like right here, that same person, these gay K-pop stans, this person too. I thought the same thing. They didn't rate us and are in disbelief when they lost. Had they lost to a predominantly white nation, they would have been fine. What? No, it's not because they're not white that Koreans are mad. Koreans are mad because they lost. Who cares? It doesn't matter who they lost to. It is so exhausting. That's their entire worldview. White people, white people, white people, white people. That's all they can think about. Black people good, black and brown's good, white people bad, and if you disagree with us, it's because you're trying to be white. You love white people so much. Oh, why are you trying to lick the boot of the white man? Oh, white people, white people, white people, white people, white people. White people, white people. That's all they do. It's so frustrating. And now you have this person, Kiki, another black individual. Korea has more smoke for a football coach than an actual rapist and pedophiles in their country. First of all, yes, because this was a national disgrace. So yes, this affects the entire nation. But secondly, the people you call rapists and pedophiles are 99% of the time not even rapists and pedophiles. Right? We mentioned this previously on our program. We didn't go in depth, but actor Kim Soo-hyun, who was the most popular and famous Korean actor in Korea, he was accused of dating a woman when she was a minor, which he didn't, by the way. And then he was vindicated in court, and now the YouTuber who spread those lies and conspiracies about him was arrested because it was all not true. And yet, these people are still saying Kim Soo-hyun's a rapist and he's a pedophile. They continuously lie about Koreans to feel good about themselves. That's all they do. And so, yes, that's why we don't have outrage for rapists and pedophiles, because most of the time, the people you're accusing of being rapists and pedophiles aren't rapists and pedophiles. It's just so unbelievably annoying. This is why we need to cut off the internet. Giving the third world internet access was a grave mistake. These people who are untethered from any semblance of morality and goodness and truth, you give them access to the internet, they're just going to wreak havoc and spread lies with impunity shamelessly. Shamelessly. They don't care that they're lying. They know that they're lying a lot of the times too. They just do it for clicks and likes. And because the entire world, entire first world bends over backwards for black and brown people for some odd reason. It is so pathetic. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. And right here, this is what I'm talking about. Meanwhile, Kim Soo-hyun, who was involved with a woman offering herself, walks and lives free. I'm black and I like anime. I'm telling you, it's always these insecure black people who make Korean culture and Japanese culture their entire identity, who are the first to lie and slander about Korea and Japan because they're literally insecure dimwits. They are insecure dimwits. They are, quite frankly, and I don't know if this is mean, but I don't care, they're vermin. I have no qualms about calling them that because they are truly parasites. They lie with impunity. They say such nasty, nasty things about Koreans and Japanese while they make it their entire identity. I'm not the hateful one. They are. I am just calling out the problem as it is. So Christians need to stop being, too afraid to call out people and their sin. No, it's objectively, your tolerance and your cowardice is destroying society. It is absolutely wrecking society. So if you want to have a country again, if you want to have normalcy and order in society again, stop tolerating this garbage. And last thing I'll say about this is I do think that the backlash against Hong Myung-bo is justified. It is a good thing that he stepped down. But one thing that is concerning is how far Koreans are willing to take this for a sports team. Where, yes, like, it's not just a sports team. It is, they are representatives of Korea on the world stage. So it's important that they win and they do their best and they pursue excellence in everything that they do. That being said, they have this much outrage about this, but right now there is an invasion of Muslims and Chinese and Southeast Asian foreign nationals into Korea. It is accelerating quickly. Very quickly. I talk to so many Koreans in Korea. A lot of the times they say they don't even recognize their own neighborhood that they grew up in because there are so many people with hijabs, so many foreigners. But they'll say nothing about that while their country itself is being invaded. They feel nothing. They're actually, no, that's a good thing. We're being a global country for all people. That's a good thing. Meanwhile, they're pissed and they're angry about Hong Myung-bo to the point where they're barring entry for him in their stores and in their restaurants. So it's really disturbing how crazy people get when it comes to sports teams. And this is what they talked about in Roman times, bread and circus. And I'm not saying sports is bad. Sports is actually a good thing. It could be a good unifying aspect for Korea and Koreans, but you have to understand, what are you unifying for? And I'll say one last thing and we'll move on. This will be really controversial, but Jen Kastrop, he was one of the strikers who came in the second half of the South Africa game. He is half German, half South Korean. He was born in Germany. He grew up in Germany, and he represented Germany in national soccer until 2025, where he decided to represent Korea. He should not have been on the national soccer team. It's not because I hate non-Koreans. It's not because I hate half people. But the thing is, by all objective metrics, he doesn't have the right to represent Korea on the world stage, even though he's a good, decent soccer player. He barely speaks Korean. He was born and raised in Germany. He doesn't look Korean. You look at him, he looks like a full-fledged white dude. And his name isn't even Korean. It's Jen Kastrop. My name is Korean. Kangmin Lee, Lee Kangmin. So I'm not saying because I hate him, but the thing is, with foreigners in a country, yes, they can have a place in a country, but they should not be the representatives of that country. I said this about Zion Suzuki too. The black goalkeeper of Japan. Yeah, it's not inherently bad or evil that he is in society, Japanese society, but he should not be representing Japan on the world stage. Not being a representative of the nation of Japan. That's what I have a problem with. And I don't have the problem with Jen Kastrop in and of itself. I don't have a problem with him. I have a problem with him representing Korea as a nation, being a national representative of Korea. And in the same way, foreigners and non-natives should not be in public office. They should not be representing a country on the world stage. Because you are not Korean. And if you're, at the very least, you start with Zion Suzuki. He adopted his mother's maiden name to assimilate more into Japan. Jen Kastrop didn't do any of that. He doesn't have a Korean name that he uses publicly. His last name isn't Korean. It's like, should we have someone like that representing Korea on the world stage? I would say no. And that's not hateful. And people always say it's because I hate black people. And I don't hate white people either. I don't hate Germans. I don't hate half German, half Koreans. But we cannot have a society where we constantly elevate people who are not Korean or not native on the world stage. Because why? You lose diversity and you lose your national identity. So much of this anger against the Korean Football Association and Hong Myung-bo, yes, like, be angry and have him step down. But the anger, and maybe this is one thing that the black haters online and these liberals get right, is that, yeah, their anger is misplaced. While you're so angry about a national soccer team loss, justifiably, but there's not even a remote level of that kind of anger when your country is being subverted and invaded. I hope Korea wakes up. Not sure if that's going to happen anytime soon, but we're praying for Korea. And then, so speaking of black grievance grifters, we had an incident where actor Shik. So Shik, if you could pull up the pictures of actor Shik, this is him, dapper looking dude, and just very general looking young Korean dude. He's a South Korean actor, and he's best known for his roles in Parasite. He was the son in the Parasite family, and then also his role in the Train to Busan. So this was his big breaks, and people loved him after that because he was a great actor and he did well. And so Choi Shik, he was at Paris for an AMI Paris Menswear Spring and Summer 2027 show as part of Paris Fashion Week. Last week, in June 24th to 25th, he attended as a global ambassador for the brand, and fans gathered outside for interactions and autographs. But there's a black female fan who recorded the moment, and she said that he rejected her because of racism. So we're going to take a look at what happened, and this was the incident. This is him outside greeting fans. Okay, so he skipped over that notebook right there, and that was handed to him by a black fan. But if you notice, he signed a black girl's notebook right there. If you move back a bit. Right there. That's a black girl. My eyes do not deceive me. That's a black girl. He is signing a black girl's notebook. But because he didn't sign that last notebook, a black girl is accusing him of racism, and it went crazy, mega viral. This is the woman right here. So
Standing in the front row to see different actors or musicians that I like. I work in the industry. I'm an actress and a writer, and sometimes I get invited or paid to be at fan events, like for the Spider-Man event in Amsterdam, or I go to events myself because I'm a fan. So Comic-Con Africa, Shadow and Bone fan events, things like that. It's typically fun. It's nice.
Okay, so she just goes on this is 8-minute rant.
Actors,
look, it's an 8.
You get to see them. I went there specifically for one actor yesterday. He's one of my favorite actors. I love him so much. Not only is he like incredibly handsome, but I love him because he goes against type. I feel like his method of acting really inspires me.
8 minutes of this.
He looks a certain way, but the roles he plays are so diverse that he goes against type.
Okay, let's stop it. Okay, typical black woman yapping forever. There's that meme. It's always shown that, in SCOTUS hearings, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson is the one who speaks the most. It's just black women with their yapping, man. They just talk forever. They talk your ear off because we live in a society and in a culture that panders to black women constantly, that they're queens, that they can do no wrong. But that's what happened. Do we have another angle of the incident? I think we have another angle of the incident. Yeah, right here. So he's signing a bunch of people's fans and their notebooks. Like how? Like I don't get what is disgusting about it. He didn't have time. Okay, we can stop playing. If he didn't have time to sign everyone's because he has places to be. And then they're accusing him of racism. And so in response to this, he posted an apology. He posted an apology on his Instagram. If you pull it up. No, not there. The next tweet, please. Yeah, right here. So right here. He posted an apology. Sorry if I missed you. I tried to sign as many autographs as I could, but time was too short. I really hope we can meet again next time. Why are you apologizing? Never apologize for something you never did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Don't apologize to the mob. And then this black influencer who talked your ear off for 8 minutes about how she was so oppressed and she was a victim of a racist incident. They looked over her because she's black. Meanwhile, we just showed you that Shik, he signed a black fan's notebook already. This is what she said in response to that. The famous black influencer who accused actor Choi Shik of being racist toward her has responded on her at this Instagram apology and giving another one bites the dust. She's not buying it. This is what she said. I appreciate the statement and understand these events operate on a strict timeline. While I hold no malice, I trust myself and my experience. The interaction gave me all the clarity I needed regarding where to invest my energy and support moving forward. I wish everyone the best and hope we all commit to treating ourselves and one another with respect and dignity. I trust myself and my experience. These black women, this is why we're so fatigued. They live in a delusional reality. It's all about themselves. It's all about, doesn't matter the objective facts of what happened. Even if he didn't show any malice, even if it wasn't intentional. Oh, he ignored me because I'm black. He ignored me because I'm black. And I know because that's my experience. So you can't tell me that I'm wrong. You can't tell me that I was ever in the wrong. And if you tell me I'm wrong, it's because you're racist and you just hate black queens. You hate black greatness. You're just racist. You're a hateful bigot. This is the most narcissistic group of people we have ever encountered on the internet, but also in person. You think about the average black woman who interacts in public. You know who servers hate to serve? You know who delivery drivers hate to deliver to? Black women. Because they are the most obnoxious, loud, crass, narcissistic, self-absorbed group of people because we live in a society that constantly eggs that on. That constantly tells them that they are the most oppressed, that we need to pander to them, that they can do no wrong, holding no standards for them. And this is the byproduct. This is what we get. A woman who, the actor, he didn't need to because he did nothing wrong. We showed you, it wasn't racist. He didn't do it because she was black. And he apologized even though he didn't have to. And then she's like, whatever. I know that you were treating me like this because you're racist, because you hate black women like me. You hate a black queen like me. This is so exhausting. And look at this picture right here. Does he hate black fans? Does he hate black fans? Tell me, look at this picture. Does he hate black people? Tons of pictures, autographs, right there. We showed you in that corner. He signed a black fan's notebook. He takes pictures with them. He talks to them. He smiles. He laughs with them. But facts don't care about your feelings. Truly. That's the society we live in. This is why we have to navigate the political discourse and the current climate as such. Because facts don't care about your feelings, but their feelings don't care about facts. So, to understand that, then you're not going to win them over with the truth. You cannot have a free marketplace of ideas with people who are hell-bent on lying and staying in their own bubble and echo chamber. And no matter what you tell them, they're hell-bent on getting their way. They don't care about the truth. As you saw with this black influencer, because she'll milk this into oblivion and she'll claim victim status because it gives her social status and standing, likes and clicks, and everyone, not only black people, but everyone on the internet, oh, you're such a victim of racism. So sorry. You should never be a victim of this kind of racism. The more that you enable this kind of behavior, the more that it'll happen. And then it'll get to a point where, yes, we're all so fatigued at your obnoxious narcissistic behavior that, yeah, maybe people will start to avoid you because of your behavior. It's never because of the color of your skin. It's always the content of your character. No one hates you because you have darker skin. You have more melanin in your skin. People are sick and tired because of the content of your character, your narcissism, how self-absorbed you are, and how you want to drag down innocent people because you want to create these victim complexes and these oppression narratives for yourself when no such oppression happened. And people think that this is not a big deal. This is a big deal because people's lives get ruined by this. An accusation of racism is enough to destroy someone's life. It is enough to cost someone's life, like we saw with Henry Nowick in England, in the UK, where a sick man stabbed him in the heart and he bled out. And the police did nothing about it because why? The sick man accused Henry Nowick of racism. This accusation of racism can cost someone their entire life. Like literally, not only their career, but their life. This is really evil. What's happening is objectively evil. It's not a mild nuisance or annoyance, it's evil. So we have to speak out against this at all costs because this is destroying everything that we love. I am so fatigued. I'm fatigued of these people. I'm fatigued of the black grievance politics. And it does really no one any good to continue this. We need to make Aesop fables more mandatory reading. I think that The Boy Who Cried Wolf should be mandatory reading for every black student in this country because The Boy Who Cried Wolf, you know what happens when you constantly cry about accusations of racism when there was none? Yeah, when actual genuine hateful acts of racism happen, when someone targets you and kills you because of your race, no one's going to believe you anymore. The same thing with misogyny and sexism and rape allegations. The Boy Who Cried Wolf. You're gonna keep lying about this for attention and to screw over innocent people. Yeah, no one's gonna believe you anymore, and you're gonna cause more problems than you solve. It should be required reading because you just constantly lying. And these people are scum. Like they're actually scum. And Shik did nothing wrong. He had nothing to apologize for. This all ends if you just tell these people no. Just say no. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? But if you constantly give them power by constantly apologizing and bending the knee, yes, like things will get worse. You didn't have to comment on it. You didn't have to even say anything about it. But don't apologize. Don't apologize for something you did not do wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Don't apologize. Never apologize to the mob. That being said, let's talk about the World Cup. We've been covering the World Cup. We've been covering the World Cup quite extensively on this program. And Japan versus Brazil was the first game of the round of 32. And before the game started, Japan and Brazil, they erupted into a race war online. So, unfortunately, Japan lost to Brazil, which was expected. Brazil is always a powerhouse when it comes to soccer. But look at this. I mean, these are just some posts of them going crazy. Brazil, look at that. It seems like we're bigger than Japan in everything, isn't it? So they're comparing country sizes, and then a Japanese man or a woman claps back, says, with such a huge territory, all you do is play soccer and rob people. That's a pretty good comeback. And then you have this, Japan, a country so small for so much rape, racism, and pedophilia. And then, you have Rock Solid, who's a great mutual, by the way. He claps back. I don't think he's Japanese, but he says, that genuine irony of saying this as a Brazilian, where you see where the most rape cases happen, and it happens in Brazil. Insane. And I think this Japanese person, has a really good summary of the race war that happened, where millions of Japanese and Brazilians were going at it. A war that erupted on X between Brazil and Japan. So Brazil says, even after getting hit with 2 atomic bombs, it seems like it's still not enough for you. In Japan, you've never been hit with an atomic bomb, yet your public safety situation is like that. True. Japan's land is small and its population is low, so its people have narrow minds. So Brazil says, and Japan claps back, a country 22 times larger than ours in land area with 1.7 times the population, ranking 7th in global GDP. What are you saying to a country that's 4th in GDP in the world? True. That's true. That's a good point. If you go down, they have another one. Japan is a country of pedophiles and a rape paradise. That's what Brazilians were saying. And Japan says, isn't the number of sex crimes in your country 9 times that of ours, with the vast majority of victims being minors? Which is true. And then, they say about, Japan is the same as imperialist Japan with the Nazis. And it's like, okay. So it's all true that the third worldist insults to especially Japan and Korea, they're all lies. And they're deeply exaggerated. It's basically slander. All they can do is slander. And then the clapbacks from Koreans and Japanese are always just factual. It's always just factual. Look at this picture. Hiroshima after 2 atomic bombs. And Rio de Janeiro without having suffered anything. So, after being bombed into oblivion, nuked, literally nuked, Hiroshima is thriving, it's safe, it's orderly, it's a pleasant place to be. Rio de Janeiro is littered with crime, poverty, filth, degeneracy. Like, seriously, Japan has its problems. We're not discounting the problems of Japan. Same thing with Korea. Korea has lots of problems. But the thing is, whenever most third worldists try to attack and insult the West or the East, it's always these exaggerations and these lies because they have nothing to insult. They have to lie to make up insults to feel better about themselves because the objective state of their own countries is squalid, it's filthy, it's crime-ridden, it's poverty-stricken. That there is no excuse for the third world to be the third world, but the third world is in its current state of the third world with its poverty and its rape culture and its child trafficking and its squalor and its filth because of the people. The people are the nation. The people create the culture. So they make up these things while Koreans and Japanese clap back and say, hello? Like, we have suffered more than you have, and we have less resources than you have. Then why are you still objectively in every metric worse than us? They had nothing to say because it's objective. Like, we all know Brazil is known for being a source, a transit, and destination country for child trafficking. We know this. Everyone knows this because it's true. The whole, why does the Japanese need female-only cars and female-only trains? Well, in the few instances of Japanese perverts taking pictures of women up their skirts or sexually assaulting a woman, you know what Japan decided to do? Japanese people decided to take action and do something about it. Meanwhile, you have the third world with literal rape cultures with the highest number of rape cases, not only by sheer number, but per capita. They do nothing about it. And they point the finger at us for doing something about it. Their insults hold no ground, yet it is sustained by the plethora of tens and hundreds of millions and billions of third worlders who have low IQ and think just the way that they do, with their seething inferiority complexes. But we know in Brazil, children face exploitation along highways and tourist coastal resorts, mining areas, and during events like Carnival. Brazil has significantly higher reported rape rates per capita than Japan, and Japan also has a much higher GDP per capita. So Brazil, rape rates are 38.6 per 100,000. Japan is 2.2 per 100,000. And so Japan's rate is 17 to 18 times higher. Their rape rate, 17 to 18 times higher. That's massive. And GDP per capita, Brazil is $10,000 to $12,000. Japan is $32,000 to $35,000. So Japan's GDP per capita is 3 times higher, and their GDP, just by and large, is much larger. So Japan is far wealthier than Brazil, and has much lower rape rates and pedophile rates than Brazil does. And Japan was nuked twice. And it's sea-locked with not a lot of resources, as many resources as Brazil has. What's your excuse, Brazil? Yeah, they don't have an excuse, but they create excuses and they lie about Japan in order to justify their own inferiority. And I don't hate Brazilians. I don't hate anyone, really. Like, I actually really vibe with most Latin Americans. But I'm talking about these grievance grifters, these liberals online, these third worldist crusaders who are just so insufferable. I'm talking about these people. They're so insufferable. No one likes them. And the worst thing that happened was giving them access to the internet to spout lies with impunity. We're all tired. If you guys keep up on X, you also saw that last month or a few weeks ago, Brazilians also came after Korea, saying that Koreans are naturally dark-skinned, but Koreans intentionally lighten their skin to be more like white people. This is the thing I'm talking about. They constantly lie about Koreans and Japanese in order to justify their own insecurities. That's all it is. That's all they do. We're tired of it. We're sick of it. We don't have to tolerate it anymore. So GG's to Brazil. I mean, they've always been a great soccer team. They're good at sports and many other sports as well. A very capable people. So I'm not discounting that. It is just, hey, stop being retarded on the internet, please. Like, we don't always need a race war, but I hate doing the, like, who started it thing and the he started it, but truly it's always the third worlders who start it. Like, they always genuinely start it. And then if Koreans or Japanese say something in retaliation or to defend themselves or to clap back, then, the whole entire third world categorizes Korea and Japan as irredeemably racist, xenophobic, and hateful. It's ridiculous. I'm so tired of it. We just got to keep pressing forward because these people, they don't know how to build civilization. They're just leeches and parasites. So do not allow these people into your country, but also stand firm against them because, yeah, they might have the numbers because there's a lot more of them. But the reality is we don't have to tolerate them in our own countries and allow them to lie with impunity on the internet without defending our countries and defending our people. And the last thing I'll talk about in terms of the World Cup, we had Germany versus Paraguay and Netherlands versus Morocco. Now, I want you to take a look at this picture. This is the German team in 2006. What do you notice? What do you notice? Oh, it's all Germans. Oh, great. So the German team, the Germany soccer team, which was known for being a massive powerhouse for years, when they're mostly German, they won so many victories, they won so many close games. Now look at them now. This is them now. This is a pretty pixelated picture, but what do you notice? Why are there a bunch of Muslims and Africans on the team? Now you look at Paraguay, and you tell me which team looks more unified and looks like an actual people. Tell me. This team with a bunch of Muslims, Arabs, and Africans with Germans versus these Paraguay soccer players. I think everyone if you're being honest and not being dishonest, you're going to say the Paraguay team looks more like a unified national team. The German team looks like they don't know what country they are. They don't know what identity that they have. It's just they pick and choose from people from all parts of the world. Is that even a country? Are you even a nation at that point? No. Meanwhile, Paraguay, you know that most of Latin America is, yes, like they're Hispanic, but they're basically a new race that was created from indigenous natives and Europeans mixing. But they look more homogenous. They look more unified. And so this is what people are talking about. People are like, is importing hordes of third world migrants and saying that we need to have diversity on the world stage in our sports in our education, in our politics, in every sector of society. Is it worth it? Well, here's Germany's World Cup record the last 60 years. 1966, runner-ups, 70, semifinals, 74, winners, 78, quarterfinals, 82, runners-up, 86, runners-up, 90, winners, 94, quarterfinals, 98, quarterfinals, 2002, runners-up, 2006, 2002, runners-up, 2006, semifinals, 2010, semifinals, 2012, winners, 2018, group stage, 2022, group stage, 2026, last 32. Literally, since 1966, Germany was always, like, think of how insane that is. They're always, at least in the quarterfinals. They won a bunch, and they were the runner-up in 66, 82, 86, 2002. They won in 90, in 74, 2014. I mean, they have always been a powerhouse in soccer in the last 80 years. 80 years. They were known for being an incredible soccer team. And like we showed you with the 2006 team, with Germans. With Germans. And then the justification always for allowing for mass immigration from the third world. Oh, we're getting the best and brightest. We're getting the best and brightest. Well, did we get the best and brightest? One of the penalty kick shootout players on the German team was an African. He missed the goal completely. Are we getting the best and brightest? I don't think so. It's clear that when the German soccer team was Germans only and not these Muslim Arabs and not these black Africans, they did better. And then as they've become more diverse, they've done worse. Am I saying that, Africans and Arabs are inherently worse than black people at soccer? No. But I think this speaks to a broader point that even the liberals, when they say, hey, we need to import third worlders in order to win, that's not even a justification anymore. So what is your justification for destroying and losing your country at this point? There is none. There is none. It's not even helping you to win soccer games. It's actually making you lose. Let's not play this. We're going to get copyrighted. So what is the justification? Literally, remember in the World Cup in 2014, winning against Brazil? They won 7-1. They absolutely demolished Brazil. Germany was known for their absolute dominance on the world stage in soccer when they were all German. And as you diversified the German team, it's actually not gotten better. So at this point, what is the justification? There is no justification at this point now for allowing mass foreigners to invade your country and losing your home. Because the thing is, when it comes to national soccer and just national sports in general, people who have a tie to their home and tie to the people for generations, they feel a pride and an intrinsic visceral sense of belonging. That they represent their team. They represent their people, their entire nation. They put the nation on their shoulders. Meanwhile, do foreigners feel the same way? No, they don't. They don't. We all know this. That foreigners, that they come and they play for whatever team gives them playing time. And yes, they don't like to lose. They want to win. But what are they winning for? Are they really winning for the German people? For the German homeland? For the nation of Germany? For the people of Germany? No. They're doing it for themselves. And a lot of times they do it so that, and they still have allegiance back to their ancestral homelands, somewhere in Africa or in the Middle East. So the more that you get away from the native citizens representing your country on the world stage, yeah, the level of play will drop because those Africans and those Muslims don't have an inherent tie, something that ties them, roots them to the land of Germany, to the people of Germany. They're different. So the stakes are lower for them. And there's not as much urgency because they're not inherently tied to the people and to the land. And so the teams that typically win at the World Cup have a strong sense of identity. This is incontrovertibly true. And so it's really national pride, and full national pride leads to camaraderie among the team, which leads to strength and a oneness and a unification among the team. But if everyone's different, they have come from different backgrounds and they have different priorities, then yes, you won't be unified as a team. You won't be as strong as a team, and the level will go down. So if you don't have ethnic and cultural ties to a nation, you don't have ancestral ties to a people and a nation, yeah, you can't expect them to play their best. You can't. So then, was it worth it? We had this happen just yesterday. Authorities revealed that the man who shot 6 people dead at a youth welfare facility in Stad, Germany, has German citizenship, but his parents immigrated to Germany from Turkey. So it's a German citizen, but a Turkish man shot 6 people dead in Germany. Are these crimes worth it? Is the absolute squalor and the Muslim horde, the rape gangs, is that all worth it? And at the end, you're going to lose your soccer game and the quality of your soccer has gone down tremendously the past few decades, the past decade. This happened in Netherlands too. Look at the Netherlands, okay? So they went to a penalty shootout also with Morocco. It was 1-1. And then who's the one who missed the shots? And who are the ones who hit the penalty shootouts? No, the penalty kicks. It is the non-Dutch, the Africans who missed. And it is the Dutch, the native Dutch, who scored. There is no excuse for mass immigration anymore. At least they were saying for a while, okay, we need the best and brightest from Africa and from the third world to be the best. We want the best and brightest. Meritocracy. Okay, well, they're not even the best and brightest and they're losing. They're costing them games. So now what is your reasoning? What is your justification for losing your home? This is what the Netherlands teams looks like. If you can enlarge it. Look at this. What country does this look like? If you didn't know that this was a Netherlands team, what country would you think this looks like? You probably say like South Africa because it's like South Africa has white people and black people. But the Netherlands never had black people who can tie their ancestry back to the Dutch and the Netherlands. But they're being overrun by third worlders and Africans for what? They lost. And the 3 people who missed their penalty kicks were Africans of African descent. And then what happens after Morocco wins and the Netherlands loses? You would think that the Netherlands would be sad, they'd be depressed, oh, we lost. No, you have on the streets Moroccan immigrants and third worlders cheering and rioting on the streets because they won. Just absolute pandemonium on the streets of Netherlands. This is in their capital. Look at all of these Moroccans. Look at all those third worlders on the streets, running around, wreaking havoc. This is in Hague or Hague, their capital. Look at this video. Look, what flag are they waving? They're not waving the Netherlands flag. They're all wearing red because they're all Moroccan fans because they're Moroccan. I think that's also a Palestine flag, I don't know. Yeah, it's a Palestine flag. At this point, if you don't understand what's going on, like your home will be toast. You will lose your home. Unironically, I actually value diversity. I want the Netherlands to be for the Dutch. I want Germany to be for Germans, but I also want Morocco to be for Moroccans. I want Nigeria to be for Nigerians. Like, I have no problem with that. And actually, I would have a problem if the entire Congo soccer team, national soccer team, were Koreans. Do I hate Koreans now? No, I love my people. I would have a problem if the entire Japanese soccer team was white. Like I said, I have a problem with Jen Kastrup representing Korea on the world stage, even if he's half Korean. His name's not Korean, doesn't speak Korean. He was born and raised in Germany. He represented Germany. Nationality is not something you can just pick and choose out of your own convenience. Nationality is a core part of your identity, where you come from, your ancestry, your roots. That is nationality. It's not something you can just pick and choose. Whatever's convenient for you or for your soccer team. So we have to ask yourselves, and Europeans, white people, and now increasingly Koreans and Japanese, you need to ask yourself, are the rapes, the gang rapes, the crime, the degeneracy, the foreign invaders desecrating your God and your history, overtaking your country, making your country unrecognizable, you losing your home, is that all worth it to virtue signal about how good of a person you are? Are your daughters being sold and trafficked and gang raped by these Muslim gangs? Your father being nearly beheaded on the streets of Belfast, Ireland? Henry Noack being stabbed in the heart by a sick man and being left to die because he was accused of racism? Is that all worth it so that you can virtue signal about tolerance and diversity and multiculturalism? You're not even winning sports games at this point. You're not winning. There's no justification any longer. Take back your countries. So the World Cup is a microcosm of what's happening in politics. You even see a lot of black people online and on Instagram Reels and on TikTok say, watching the World Cup, and it's just, black N-words go against black N-words. What? What's going on here? Even black people are noticing this, that, hey, the more that you allow for diversity, quote unquote, in your own countries and mass immigration, you lose diversity on the world stage. So I want Koreans to represent Korea, but I want Germans to represent Germany. I want the Dutch to represent the Netherlands. And America's different because, yes, America at its founding had white Anglo-Saxon Protestants and West Africans and a small cohort of West Africans. And that is the founding fabric of America. So America's different. So I'm not saying that black people can't be on America's team because black people have always been part of America's history and founding. But what I am saying is that they weren't part of French history until very recently. And then the entire French soccer team is black now. They're all African. So you just have Africans in a different country go against Africans in another country. And that is the trajectory of global international sports competitions. At that point, there's no point in winning anymore because now you just import foreigners to win on behalf of you. Okay, you lost. Maybe you win, but they're not even winning, by the way. But maybe you win. Let's say you win because you import a mass amount of foreigners to win for you on behalf of your country. Well, your country is lost. So you lost. You've been invaded, and you're losing you lose your heritage and your national identity. So, all that being said, World Cup is fun to watch. We will continue to cheer on America. America plays tomorrow against, it's a long name. I forgot the country. But Yeah, America plays tomorrow, so we'll cheer on America because we love America, and America must win. And I think it would be the greatest thing if America won this World Cup on the 250th birthday of America. But let's continue to advocate for our countries. Wake up. Do not be psyoped into thinking that you're a hateful person to want to preserve your country for your people, because a nation is first and foremost its people. You replace the people, you lose the nation. All right, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Do all of those things if you're watching live on YouTube. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And now we are taking your super chats. We're reading your questions that you have asked us on Instagram and on X. But also make sure to leave us some super chats that we will read live on air, answering your questions. And yeah, you get to know more about me. Because you can ask me anything, not just about politics, but you can ask me about life. Ask me about anime or Korean dramas or sports. We like all of that because all of that matters because that's all part of culture. So let's get to our first question from Instagram. This is from Mr. Jonathan. What do you think about the political situation in Australia? I think it is the same in terms of, that's not exactly the same, but it's similar to what the Anglosphere, the rest of the Anglosphere and the rest of Europe, Western Europe is facing right now. It is suicidal empathy to cater towards people who hate you, enemies, traitors, and invaders who hate you and will pillage your country, rob your country, and take over your country. And we're being completely subverted. And this is all being enabled by toxic women who schoolmarm you about diversity and compassion and tolerance and acceptance, and by simps, by weak men, and by literal traitors who will sell out your country for whatever benefits them, if they can get lobbying or they can get paid off by foreign corporations, multinational corporations, whether they can virtue signal and win the votes of mass foreigners. Yeah, it's literally the biblical story of Jacob and Esau. Selling your birthright for some soup. That's literally what's happening in Australia, in America, in Canada, in the Anglosphere, and all over Europe. You're selling your birthright. You're selling everything. You're giving away everything that your ancestors bled and died for some soup. So you can have some halal curry. Some kebabs. You should be ashamed of yourself. Are you serious? You are such a disappointment. And, you know, there's that line from Mulan. Dishonor on your family, dishonor on your cow from Mushu. That's literally what it is. And we need to shame people. We need to shame not only liberals, but conservatives who are okay with the displacement of their country, with the destruction of their country, because they can virtue signal about how good of a person they are. You are selling your birthright for some soup. Cowards. You are cowards. You're so mean, Kangmin. I don't care. Do you want a country or not? Goodness gracious. How do you not see that your country is unrecognizable? Even for me, who grew up in America, I go to a mall and I cannot see a single heritage American anywhere. It is rare. White heritage Americans are a minority in America now. People saying, oh no, they're a majority. No, I think they're flubbing the numbers. You go to New York, you can barely see white people. All you see are Muslims and Africans. Especially on that one street. I think it's like Canary Street. You have all these like African scammers. You go to Dallas, Texas, and I got so flamed by the online Indian community for this, but I landed in Dallas and every other person was an Indian. You go to your local Costco in Texas, you feel like you're in New Delhi. You've been transported to Mumbai. That's the state of the political situation. And on top of that, they will jail in Australia and in most parts of the Anglosphere, especially in UK too. They will jail you for Islamophobia. They will jail you for hate speech, destroy you, find your church or your organization. But they will do nothing when Muslim terrorists come in, flood into your country, shoot up. You had that Muslim terrorist shoot up on Bondi Beach. Say what you will about the Jews, and I know that there's a lot of Jewish NGOs and very powerful Jewish billionaires and Jews who are funding a lot of the mass migration and the refugees, replacements, and all of those left-wing social causes. I understand that. But the thing is, like, the average Jew is not shooting up people or causing problems in our country. If anything, that's why the the stereotype of the Jews about like with money and counting pennies and things like that exists, because that's how they operate. They are very money conscious and they are able to extract wealth, whatever necessary. But they're not wreaking havoc in terms of they're killing me or they're committing violent crime on the streets. And this is where like the dissident right, where they're like super anti-Israel, needs to kind of come back into alignment and understand that leftist terrorists and these foreign invaders are much more of a threat to you than the average Jew. So then constantly saying, Jew, 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 Jew. It's so deeply unproductive. And again, your focus and your anger is misplaced. It wasn't Muslims who were shot and killed in Bondi Beach in the shooting in Australia a couple months ago. It was Jews. It was Jews who were targeted by a Muslim extremist with ties to Muslim terrorist groups. So this whole Christian-Muslim alliance thing doesn't exist. It cannot exist because these people are wholly incompatible with Western civilization. That's what you got to understand, man. Like, you just keep focusing on the Jews, and I understand that you can call out Jewish influence in Western politics, much like Charlie. I think Charlie did it best, honestly. But yeah, like don't look over the invasion. And I've seen this from people too. They're like, oh yeah, like I don't care if my country turns into the third world as long as we get Israeli influence out of American politics. Are you stupid? What is the whole point of doing any of this for then? Any politicking, any cultural war fighting? What is the point if you're okay with your country turning into an unrecognizable third world hellhole as long as Israel doesn't control American politics and AIPAC doesn't lobby politicians anymore? Where are your priorities? What are this is why I can't with the that's why the super anti-Israel side, they get to a point where they become third world apologists and Muslim apologists. And at that point, I'm like, okay, you've lost me. You've lost me. And it's the worst people who are super pro-Palestine and anti-Israel too, especially on the left. It makes me want to be pro-Israel. It does. It does. And I'm not blindly pro-Israel. I call out Israel quite a bit. But it's the worst people who are like this. And I'm like, okay, dude, you're tiresome. So all that being said, I know we're kind of detracting there a bit, but the state of Australian politics is as such, like in the Anglosphere and in the West, suicidal empathy, mass diversity, mass immigration, mass multiculturalism. It is completely destroying your country. I want to go to Australia and see Australians, man. So hopefully you guys can keep it together in Australia by the time I get there. I've never visited, but I do want to go one day. I think it'd be great. You see some crocodiles and you adventure in the was the savannah? No, savannah's safari? No, savannah. Yeah. You adventure in the savannah, see the kangaroos hopping around with the joeys in the pockets. It's like, I love Australia. I want to go to Sydney and go to the Opera House and enjoy all the things that are Australian. So save your country, preserve your country. But I do like Australia. All right, next question from X. We got Craigie. Craig Mart on X asks, following postings on Z, I'm assuming X, made me, an American, realize that Asians don't seem to like each other. Is that true? And is it a big problem? Yes. Asians don't really like each other. But the thing is, like, there are levels to this. So intersectionality, a lot of people talk about how toxic that is. And I do think it is toxic because you form these broad coalitions for no reason to destroy, like, goodness and order in society. But you see that in America. I think America, because of how diverse and how many immigrants there are in different ethnic groups in America America is a good microcosm of this phenomena of, I don't know what to call it. It's kind of like almost like ordered racial preference. I don't know. It's like very strange where like Asians that's why you have the whole AAPI group. It's like, oh, Asians, we stick together. So the Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, Vietnamese, Filipinos, we stick together. We're AAPI, we're Asian Americans. But then it's like, okay, but then the Chinese don't really like the Koreans. Koreans don't really like the Chinese, and Japanese and Koreans kind of have beef there too because of our past. And then some of the East Asians don't like the Southeast Asians. Southeast Asians don't really like the Northeast Asians. So it's interesting where, and I think when you're in a diaspora situation, Asians are a lot more willing to get along because they've realized that they have similar backgrounds. And so they kind of stick together in order to get what they want in politics and in the economy and in society. So they kind of just stick together. But then when it comes to like Asia, they don't really like each other. They're very tribal. So you're going to see that like Koreans. Then that being said, things have changed a lot in Korea. Korea used to be rabidly anti-Japanese. My grandparents' generation, even my mom's generation. But now with millennials and Gen Z, they're all broadly just, yeah, we like the Japanese. Now, the hard leftists hate Japan because much like the West, they hold on to past oppression and they can't let go of and they can't move forward. And they can't understand that the current people alive today are not responsible for what their ancestors did a century ago. But in the same way, leftists today hold all white people responsible for this crime of slavery. A lot of Korean leftists do the same thing with Japan. They're like, oh, yeah, Japan, they're irredeemable and we hate them because of what they did to Korea. And yeah, I don't like that either. But the thing is, you have to move forward. And the Japan of today is not the imperialist Japan of the early 1900s. And they're not trying to rape Koreans and steal Korea and erase Korean heritage and culture like the imperialist Japanese were. So, I think, so when it comes to diaspora context, Asians actually broadly like each other more because they're in a foreign land, in a different country, and they have to learn to survive in that different country. But when it comes to in Asia, in their homelands, they beef quite often. I get so many people beefing with me from Japan and from China and from especially Southeast Asia. They hate me. But then at the same time, I have people who are like, yeah, like we like you. And they're like Chinese or they're Taiwanese. And then there's like Japanese, like the Japanese anti-feminists and conservatives like me. And yeah, but I think there's also like Christians in South Asia, like India and in Indonesia and Vietnam who really like me. But then there's obviously the third worldist keyboard warriors online who despise me because I just say the truth. I say the truth, and I just will never understand how me saying that you shouldn't eat rice with your hands, you should use chopsticks or spoons, got made like millions, tens of millions Southeast Asians like pissed at me. I will never understand, man. Like that was so mild. Out of all the things I could have said, that's what got them angry at me. And got whole swaths of Southeast Asians coming after me and wishing me death because I said don't use your hands to eat your rice. But I don't know. Who knows? I am just a filthy, civilized person. So that's what I think in terms of Asia. Asians like each other in diaspora context more. And then in their homelands, they are very tribal and nationalistic in that way. So I think there's something to be learned there, too. I think Korea is becoming much more like America in terms of open-minded and like, oh, yeah, we should let everyone in because we are a propositional nation. But I think there is a pulse of national identity and nationalism that can be tapped into in Korea, which someone has to do before Korea gets overrun by third worlders and foreigners. Concerning. All right, that's it for our Instagram and X questions. Do we have any super chats for today? We have one super chat. All right, let's see. Look at this super chat. This super chat is from J Money for $10. Says, it is the deep state and financial elite who want immigration. Continue to ignore that as being dishonest. Elites were also initially the only ones with rights to vote, seen as how you had to be landlord. Yeah, that's true. So it is the deep state and the financial elite who want immigration. And because they have a lot to benefit from that. This is why people always like, the billionaires hate immigration. I'm like, what are you talking about? The billionaires are the ones mostly, except for Elon Musk, who's our first trillionaire. The billionaires are the ones who constantly lobby and fund organizations and efforts to import millions of foreigners into America. Why? Because they're cheap labor. They're unaccountable cheap labor. So you can just increase your profit margin. So companies love that. So it's actually the billionaires and the financial elites. So that's so true. And elites were also initially the only ones with rights to vote. Yeah, so seen as how you have to be landlord. So that's the thing though. Like every society is gonna have an elite class. So it's not a matter of whether or not a society has an elite class, but whether who is that elite class. That's why communism never works. Communism tries to squash all distinctions among classes and say, oh yeah, we're gonna have a classless society. And then what happens as a result? Well, you just erect a new ruling class because we are tribal, we are hierarchical by nature as humans. So it's not about what hierarchy exists, not about what elite class exists, but it's about who is in that elite class. And right now we have a disordered, dysfunctional elite class who looks out for the interests of their own multinational corporation. They look out for globalist interests. They look out for foreign interests more than the American people itself. And our elite class is not controlled by Christians. But the elite class before, traditionally in America, it was white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. There were Bible-believing Christians who are faithful to the Lord, who led this country with Christian ethics. So, yes, you will have an elite class, but we want our elite class to be moral and virtuous and good. So there's that whole idea of noblesse oblige, right? Where the elite class and the elites do well to those who do not have as much, because we will always be a society that is ordered with a hierarchy. So then this idea of egalitarianism, equality, it's all nonsense. So we need to get rid of the idea and understand that if we want any sort of populism, we want good traditional aristocrats in society. And I think Elon Musk is a good example of this, where he is our world's first trillionaire, but he is someone who cares about the interests and the preservation of Western civilization. So we need people like that. We will not get by with grassroots. I'm sorry. The reality is grassroots organization, it does a lot. I'm not discounting it, but the grassroots organizations has to translate into electing and creating a new elite class. For example, Charlie, he was grassroots, but he became a member of the elite of the right wing in right-wing politics. And that's how he was able to effectuate change so well. That's what we need to do. We need to think about that in the economic sector, in the public sector, in government, in corporations, in schools. We need to not just say, oh, we're going to always be grassroots and we'll stay grassroots. No, like all our grassroots efforts exist in order to get our desired elected officials into office, but also leaders who will become a new elite class to replace the dysfunctional, godless, degenerate elite class that exists today. And the elite class that exists today is, right, what? Who do we have? We have debauched millionaires. We have ghetto streamers. We have porn stars. We have, porn site owners, which are basically just pimps. We have godless technocrats. We have liberal professors and administrators who control all our educational institutions. We have godless, unelected bureaucrats in our administrative state. Like we have an elite class that hates us and hates our God. What we need to do is get new people to replace them and create a new elite class who can do well for those who are, I guess, on the lower echelons of society and, just uplift the country and do what's best for the country and the future of the country. So that's what we got to do. All right, we got Booing Bob. Thank you so much, Booing Bob VT for $4.99, $5. Korea might have failed, but you can always count on Faker to represent Korea well. So true. You know, Korea is known for their gamers all being super sweats. So I think Faker's liberal though, right? Isn't he liberal? He's kind of like left-wing. We don't know. He's just a gamer, man. I don't know. He probably doesn't even want to concern himself with politics. But you should care about politics because politics cares about you. That being said, we like Faker. Faker's a cool guy. I like eating his, I think it's like, I forgot what it's called. It's like Wang Ramyeon or something. It's like some big ramyeon in Korea. Oh, 왕뚜껑, and then Faker's on it. And every time I go to Korea, I'm like, oh, it gives you so much ramen that I'm like, I open it, I'm like, thank you, Faker. And then I eat the ramen. So true. But thank you so much for the $5, Booming Bob. You can always count on Faker to represent Korea well. One of the best gamers in the world come from Korea because, yeah, Korean dudes are just so good at gaming for some reason. It's kind of insane. But I was never a League guy, never got into League. I've always been a very, like, Smash Bros, Fortnite, like, high-intensity, rapid-paced fighting game kind of guy. That's always been me. All right, that does it for our show today. Thank you so much for the super chats. Again, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Do all those great things. Listen and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Share this show, share this episode with your friends if you're so inclined. And yes, this is something to look forward to in the future, but we will shift the show. It is, we're almost in July now, but we will do the show in July still on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. But then starting in August, we will shift to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Same time, just trying to ramp up the content a little more and the frequency a little more for y'all so we can all understand how to better restore faith, identity, and civilization from east to west on this program for our countries, for our families, and for our posterity. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this broadcast and this episode of the Kangmin Lee Show. I am your host, Kangmin Lee. Until next time, God bless you guys. May the Lord keep you. I'll close this out with a quick prayer, and then we'll head out for whatever it is that we're doing and God has called us to. Lord, we thank you so much for everything that you are, everything for who you are and what you've done for us. Lord, I pray that in everything that we do, we don't forget that you are with us. And so because you are with us and you go before us, we have nothing to fear. So Lord, would you give us sober minds and level heads? Lord, may we not conform to the patterns of this world, but by the renewing of our mind, we will be able to know what your good and perfect will is. We trust that your church is the answer to societal ills and to the destruction and the chaos we see in society. May the gospel be preached through all nations in all corners of society. May your will be done and may justice prevail. Justice that is through you and your word. We love you. We thank you. And in Jesus' precious name and pray, amen. God bless America. God bless our troops. And ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. All right, I'm out. Bye, guys.